Brought to you by Bowlersmart.com, trusted by bowlers around the world since 2004. By Lightning Strikes Bowl, home of Bowlersmart Pro Shop. By Platinum Ford, drive the difference. By Fire Lake Bowling Center, 24 state-of-the-art lanes. By True Grit Coatings, drive on our passion. By Roll to Grip, king of them all. By 900 Global, striking worldwide.
Good morning and welcome back to the Beef and Barnzy show. We're going to have a pretty good one today and get to talk about what a lot of guys like to talk about. What's in the bag today? I'm Barnzy and joined by the unimitable Beef Stew. How are you this morning?
What's going on, guys? Bowling community's got a bit of a heavy heart this morning after what happened up in Maine last night. Yeah. The world's just a fucked up place. So.
Yeah.
So anyway,
yeah, details still coming in, I guess.
Yeah, it's just mindless and it continues. So anyway, let's try and move on to bigger and brighter and more fun things to talk about, which is basically anything, but we've got a we've got a World Series matchup, Chris.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Your Texas Rangers and Arizona Diamondbacks. They said 2 years ago they combined for 212 losses, and now they're in the World Series.
Yeah, let's go. I think it's kind of amusing that Texas somewhat tried to buy their way out of the issue, and the players who are actually helping them aren't the ones that they use most of the money on. So that's kind of funny. I think they're spending 50 million on Scherzer, and like that's his salary, and then whatever it is on DeGrom. And neither of them are really contributing anything. So it's kind of amusing.
Yeah, I haven't read exactly. They got some of them at a discount on this first year, but yeah, I mean, Simeon and Seager are the guys that they're really the backbone, I guess, so to speak. And then these other guys, man, they got some guys that can hit it.
Kirk says, "What's the bet on the World Series?" I think the thing is I don't think either me or Chris are going to lose like lots of sleep over our team losing. But maybe we'll think of something before tomorrow. I'm quite excited about it because the Diamondbacks don't really spend money, so they're not going to make it on any sort of regular basis.
Yeah.
So, fun times. I was a little disappointed that we didn't cut to the Philly noise. What do they call it? The decibel rating thing in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings because it sounded like a morgue as their team was going out.
It was a little quieter, undoubtedly.
Yeah. But
sorry, I got to share it out.
Anyway, I'm not going to have a who's got better fans because clearly everybody's got better fans than the Diamondbacks.
Is that the case?
Oh, yeah, we don't. There's no Diamondbacks fans. I think there was a thing where for game 3 of the last series, you could get in for $6.
Well,
so
Curtis, I saw you asked this last time. We didn't get to it. High road, a step down. I don't think so. I think it's actually a step up from a crossroad.
Yeah, I mean, I think those balls are fairly interchangeable.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they're both kind of like high RG, R2S hybrid balls. So, I mean, I wouldn't want two. Crossroads the GOAT, though. What's going on, Chris? Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us again. Hopefully you're staying safe. I was just saying to Chris, winter has arrived in Pflugerville, although the sun's starting to come through. But yeah, my entire lawn in the backyard is flooded. So that's what 2 hours of rain will do for you. So If you're wondering about winter wear, we have it on beefandbarnzy.com. Hoodies, jogging bottoms, we've got it. So anyway, 3Gs been a while. Thanks for the super chat. 9-ball Arsenal, 9 balls in 3 games equal ridiculous for top typical house shot. But I want to get more versatile with equipment in competition. Is there a thought to how close to choose 2 balls to take and how to approach each night? Interesting. I think Chris does this in a much more scientific way. We talk about this quite a lot. He has kind of like 3 levels, and then he has kind of a smooth version of that and an angular version of that, and that's kind of how he does it. I tend to be a little bit more emotional with it, shall we say, and I tend to just kind of have like what I call stacks. So like for me, Absolute pairs really well with the Revenant off each other. Now, if I was to look at all the numbers and everything, that might not be the case if I was doing it technically, but those 2 balls work really well together for me. The Phase 2 and the Zen kind of work pretty well off each other, although they don't gap as much. So I think it's really to how much gap you have between the balls. I think it's a lot to do with whether you feel more comfortable changing speeds and changing releases, or if you want to kind of stay within that same release and change balls. Because obviously, if you're not going to change release or speed, you need the balls to be closer. Both me and Chris would kind of prefer to stay with the same ball and change a little bit before we were forced to change. Because we feel like we have more understanding of what the ball's going to do, because pretty much every time you change ball, it's a guess. So, your thoughts, Chris?
Yeah, no, I think you pretty much nailed it. For like lots of times, I'll take it. I still use the big roller, so I bring in 3 balls and a spare ball, and where we're doing the Louisville right now is a little bit interesting. So last week I had to do the walk of shame out to the parking lot after I brought in some balls that were too strong, and I had about 6 flat 10s in the first game, and the handicap guy I was bowling was getting 28 pins a game, and so with handicap you view by about 100, and so decided maybe I needed to. So I had to go out and get a rip. And
you had to make the walk of shame.
The walk of shame, the league walk of shame. Took 2 balls out, brought 2 in. But I'm looking really, you don't need a lot of, at least in my house, I don't need heavy oil balls. So I'm taking a couple of medium and generally a dry, angular type ball. And then you see how they fit off each other. And the idea is that if they both don't work, then they don't play off of each other particularly well. I want to make sure I cover the gaps. And so, like I like Exponent and I like Rip off of it. Those are 2 balls that are kind of on the medium lower end, and allow me to get it back around the corner. As I go down, each one gets around the corner a little more than the one before it, and so we try and do it that way. But like Stu said, I have 2 balls that I would say for heavy oil, and that's like Gem and Attorney Pie. And then I'll have 2 balls in the medium range, and I'll have 2 balls in the dry range. And so a lot of balls in the middle range right now. We've been testing a few of them too. I mean, between Phase 2, TNT,
TNT
infused. There's only one TNT for me, by the way, and it is the infused.
Just clarifying for the viewers out there.
Yes. Yeah, you are correct. Exponent. Now the upcoming Journey. Zen Gold. There's a lot of middle strong balls in there, and so try and get those, kind of fit those pieces together. Do I need all 5? Probably not. If I'm on tour, will I have all 5? Well, yeah, probably, but I'll probably end up using 2 or 3 of them mostly.
Yeah, I think for us with the tour, it comes down to finding what works. And to me, during the season, you have like a real, like, for example, for me going into the season, I felt like the Night Road was it. And it just really wasn't it on the PBA tour. It was really good. Sorry. It was really good for me everywhere but the PBA tour. Same with the Infinite Physics. And it turned out that the better combination for me, rather than being Infinite Physics Night Road, was actually Absolute Revenant. And they weren't really 2 balls that were really on my radar before the season started. So, you know, everybody's a product of their environment, and that includes the balls. So I hope that answered it. If you need more clarity, let us know. I had one of those annoying things that the public service, probably telling me that there's flooding in the area.
Amber Alert or severe flooding watch.
Yeah, and I used to have them all turned off, but I got a new phone, so now I've got to go back in and turn all that shit off again. John, hello. Is there any tricks to see transition better? I'm usually 4 frames too late. Watch the pins. I know it sounds silly, but if you see the way the ball's going through the pins, and if you're seeing like the 10 pin being really late, getting out, you should start to make your preparations for that transition time. Also, look around, see what the other guys are doing. If you're bowling, say, 5-man team and 4 of the 5 guys don't strike on a frame where you have been striking, that's probably starting to become around the time that you're going to need to make changes.
Yeah, the 4 pin followed by the flat 10, and the one good thing about team is you don't have to do both of those yourself. Watch the guys you're bowling with, and they start to hook, and then when you move, and then the ball doesn't go through them, that's your transition. And so use some of the information around you to make the changes faster.
Interesting question here from Mr. Poga. He said, strong cores and urethanes don't mix well. Yeah, probably. So why go the route of the IQ urethane? Well, the IQ isn't strong.
No, it's an O29 diff.
Rather than what Brunswick did. Seems like that was the way to go. Well, we'll see. The point is cover is always more dominant in my mind. So, let's wait and see. I think that Brunswick are going to release a urethane ball as well. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Nobody's been talking out of school. I'm just looking at it logically. I would think that they would make a urethane ball.
The ball they released looks like a UC3.
Yeah, just not obviously not as strong a core.
Right.
But it's got that. It looks like it goes way longer than what.
It's way sharper off the back of the pattern.
In from what I've seen, yes.
Yeah.
So to me,
Kevin Williams did one too with the comparison that was a little easier to see. There's been a couple of them like that where people threw a purple up against it, and it outhooks it.
I think
it's all in the back.
I think the thing is though, when the lane is not got any carry down, I don't think you're going to notice that big of a difference. Yeah. It's once the carry down comes. Like the UC3 looked fantastic on fresh.
100%.
And if you bowled in an event where other guys weren't really using urethane, the UC3 was a beast. But once you ended up getting up against all the other guys using urethane, it kind of became a little difficult to control. So I also think that I take your point, but all of the success of the smaller core urethanes has come with urethanes that were really soft.
Mm-hmm.
So if the urethane's now going to be way harder, you're going to need something to make it start up. And if that's not the cover stock, then I think the only thing it could be is flare.
Yeah, I used to use a Stingray a lot. Not a lot, but on a few occasions where we used urethane. And that was basically Columbia's version at the time when they could not get a reactive ball put together to compete against Purple Rhino Pro and Excalibur. And it was an 045 diff core. And it was okay for a while. And then the oils got a little thicker and a little slicker, and then it just went early and wasn't the bigger core just made it start too soon. So I think it's a good question, but yeah, it's only 0.05 more than a pitch black, I believe, which put it really close to actually what a Booyah was.
Hey, Dan, what's going on? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're keeping safe. Thoughts on the new Belmo ball? Me personally, I think it's incredible. It's been really good for me so far. Granted, small sample size, but the video will be out tomorrow morning and you'll get to understand.
Yeah. But, no, I think it's a good fit. And kind of what you would expect. Core numbers similar to an exponent, cover stronger than that. Beef and Barney, do we have any balls you have at 14 pounds, and what are the advantages, disadvantages? We don't, but both our wives do.
I was about to say, me and Chris are barely out of 16s.
Yeah, we're on the slow transition, but we're not quite there yet.
I mean, the advantages are it's lighter, so you can get more ball speed, less wear and tear on the body, give up a little bit of hit, especially if you play more in the oil. Yeah, I don't think you notice it if you create more off the dry. But if you're kind of keeping it a little close to the head pin, I think you notice a little bit more. So we have a super chat from the Aggie. Morning, guys. Any ideas for the 2023 O'Neill pattern? I think it's a flat 39-foot junior pattern. Ooh, Bill will be popular.
Ooh.
I think that it is a little difficult to comment because I think that 79.8% of the field are going to be using urethane and the other 20% are going to be on the left side. So
also using urethane.
Yeah. So I think that that's going to be the biggest issue. I mean, so many people are going to use urethane in junior competition anyway. I mean, just in competition period, but it'll develop so quickly away from what it is on the practice that
The key, especially at the start, and I know that's at least for me, that's the most stressful time, is what is it going to do in the first 6 frames? Because you don't want to have 70 or 60 in the fifth. Throw, and if you're going to throw urethane on the gutter, throw urethane on the absolute gutter, like outside of 5, and find out if it hooks off that spot or not. And if it does not hook off that spot, then the choices get much simpler, much quicker, because you're going to be way closer to the track, and you're going to, and then as it develops, it's going to be it's going to be okay. You know, it's going to be easier because you're not going to have to move in. If the gutter hooks and everybody's throwing urethane, also that 39 foot's going to be 43 or 44 feet in about a game. And
I mean, the ball in the slicker part of the center, I think they're going to be really difficult. If I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I don't think things play particularly easy at males unless it's a little longer. So, yeah, I think it's really you're really going to keep focusing, like Chris is saying, and then focus on what the guys you're following are doing and just have a look at what the field's doing, because that's going to dictate way more than the pattern when there's so much urethane. All right, let's transition this a little bit along. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first on what's going on?
Well, I'm happy to. Kind of what's in my bag right now.
Okay, go for it.
6 ball.
Yeah, let's
Uh,
do 6. Yeah, I'm not going to do a spare ball. I have a spare ball. I'll always have a spare ball, pretty much, no matter how many I have. So, but the 6 reactive balls that I'm using. Go ahead.
Fair enough. Like I said, I have 2 heavy balls. The control ball has been a reality or a gem for quite some time. Um, uh, the magic gem is a candidate to fit in that place, but I still like my gems. So the magic gem that I took, I put a little bit of polish on. Uh, I have an eternity pie as my 2 ball, my heavy angular, ball with a little bit more shape on it. So a pin down reality or gem as a smoother, pin up eternity pie. Could be a magic gem. I haven't thrown it enough on anything that I can really test it on to know. For that middle range, right now, I have an exponent and a Zen Gold and a blackout, kind of all in that range at the moment. And to be honest, actually, I have a blackout with surface on it that I could use up towards the top of that as a ball too as well. But for now, I guess if you're going to nail me down to it, it would be uh, exponent and blackout, kind of in the middle range as an angular and smoother options. And then down at the bottom, in the past, I've had IQ Emerald and Hustle Wine, transitioning a little bit away from that, and the rip is kind of come in as my dry angular ball, and I've been playing around a little bit with the Tour Dynamics or Urethane as the control ball. Uh, Too much surface on my Tour Dynamics right now. I got to take a little bit of that off. Tried to use it on a 35-foot higher volume pattern. And it wasn't the right answer. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. It would be if you nail me down right now, and then 6 balls. Like say I'm going to Columbia here soon. Pin down reality pie, exponent, blackout, rip, and probably a Tour Dynamics in a senior
Okay.
event and a urethane ball in a non-senior event.
Okay. I'm not really. I'm going to do it on the balls that I'm actually like using all the time. And of course, I'm bowling on easier stuff mainly at the minute. Just because that's where we're at. So for me, Magic Gem has come in. I like it. I like it quite a bit. It gives me the shape that most people get out of the gem, but I can kind of use it for an extended period of time because it's a little cleaner. So that one's particularly useful for me right now. It's a little early, but Balmo's Journey would almost certainly be in if we were doing this in, say, 3 weeks. But I've only used it for about 1.5 competitive games, so a little soon. TNT Infused has been really, really good for me. Surprise, actually. When I first threw it, I thought it was going to be a little uncontrollable. I slightly touched the surface. You wouldn't know it has surface on it, and used it a little bit. And that ball has come in and has been really useful for me. The Absolute is still pretty much what I would use as a staple in my bag. So I've got those 3. The Hustle Rip isn't a ball I use very often, but it is the ball for the weaker scenario. Revenant with surface has been quite a useful ball for me in the last 2 or 3 months. Surface, because I had a bit of an issue with my physical game where I kept shoving everything when I got left. So I just made everything skid through the front. So as opposed to, working on my game and fixing it, I fixed it with equipment. It's kind of what I do. So that's kind of 5. And then it's been floating around a lot of different things. I thought it was going to be the gold label, but for me, I get 9 a lot with that ball. I think that I think the gold label's a home run ball, and I think it's one of those balls that's like, it's either fantastic or it's just not the one. And I've learned in the last couple of weeks that manipulating that ball isn't good for me. I just have to throw it, and if it gives me back what I need, oh, Maria will be happy. Then that's the way to go. So if I was to pin down, it would probably be a phase 2 is the ball that I'm using the most in that gap. So for me, I would have Magic Gem and phase 2, Absolute and TNT infused, Revenant and the Hustle Rip. They're the balls that I've been using quite a bit. Like I say, it could change. Tina really likes Reality still. I drilled the Eternity Pie. It looked incredible for her. Really, like, she could make it hook. It was a strong ball that actually hooked, whereas a lot of the strong balls for her kind of just roll. They don't really like hook. So that was really good for her. She really likes the gold label. She's still leaning towards Hustle Wine quite a bit. And the Absolute has been nice for her also. So they're kind of the balls that we've been using.
Yeah, I'm going Columbia, not 300, but actually Cali, Columbia for the Senior World Championships.
Oh, Cali,
kidnapped
capsule of the world.
I wanted to address this because I've heard this on a couple of videos we're watching with the new balls. There is no ban of urethane. They're just making it above 73 during competition for PBA stuff and just PBA stuff right now. USDC is holding on to not addressing the elephant in the room. And so for the PBA, as of January 1st or 6th, I guess it is, urethane has to be 78 hardness, which right now is just, and after, for the national tour, after August 1, 2022, the regional and senior tour, that's not the case. But that's when USPC moved the hardness up to 73, and that's what the barometer is now for urethane balls during use is 73 as well. And to get to there, then they have to start at the 78. And they're going to continue testing. And I think they have the new balls right now, which is both the IQ Tour R 78, whatever and the new, which and how all that turns out, I guess we'll know soon. But anticipate both of those being available for everyone at the start of tour, and then we'll go past that. But yeah, that gold label, I have a couple of them, and so I didn't list a bag without it in there. I have a dual gold label that I like as a ball too as well. Where we're going to Columbia, and there's going to be some friction in that surface down there anyway. Probably the Eternity Pie will probably not end up there. Kind of goes along with what Brent's saying here. The Eternity Pie with a little too much surface sometimes doesn't have the back end motion, but once it gets a little lane shine, it's great. Would like to have the earlier read and the back end motion. Well, except for marketing materials, that actually doesn't work very well in real life. You kind of have to, I've had better luck with that kind of thing with quite a bit of surface and still having the back end motion with the blackout recently, but that's a tough thing to accomplish. The Gem does that a little bit more, and Magic Gem even more so than, say, the Reality, which is a very smooth, very continuous ball. And so I have a feeling the Magic Gem is going to be really good for a lot of people. Kind of what you're talking about, having an earlier read, but still having more back end motion on that fresh.
Sorry.
My general arsenal is DNA, Eternity, Summit, Gold Label, High Road, and Urethane, Exotic Gem, Phase 2, Phase 5, TNT, and Hustle Wine that I can switch out.
It's a pretty gigantic gap between the Summit and the Gold Label, I think.
Yeah, there's a. I mean, the attorney might actually be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're just a little bit backwards there as far as the lineup. But I wouldn't be afraid to put in a phase 2 in there in between the DNA Eternity phase 2 Gold Label, and then if you like the High Road, no problem. Hustle Wine is a pretty, that's quite a bit cleaner, I think, than the High Road. So, but you do have a lot of bases covered. Like it, there's a mix of symmetrical, asymmetrical. You're going to have it be in pretty good shape. So,
hey Adam, what's going on, mate? I have one question. Reality, phase 2, Exponent, Blackout, Gold Label, Journey. I don't really think there's any reason for you, unless you're going to be bowling PBA events, to have the to switch out the urethane you have right now.
yeah.
But if that was the case, I think the Journey is significantly stronger than the Gold Label for me.
Yeah, it's stronger than the Exponent for me as well. I think it fits in between the phase 2 and then those two balls.
Yeah, the phase 2 and the Journey. I think for most people, it's a little different shape wise, but in the gap it fills, a Journey is in a very similar spot in the gap to the Zen. From what I saw out of it, I think the cover's pretty strong. I think it comes off the spot pretty well. I could imagine that if I, put a little surface on it, I could probably use it a little straighter also. It'd smooth it out. I think, if the lanes get really transitioned late, I think it's going to be a little difficult to use it because I think it's too strong. Like, I think that's when you'll get to use Blackout or Gold Label or Revenant.
Strong being a little too early.
Yeah, I just think it's just overall too much hook.
Okay.
Like a bit like the Zen does. The Zen was really good for guys who were a little more forward and could use it early in the block, even on the fresh. Like I could use a Zen quite often on the fresh. It wasn't necessarily the ball that I would finish blocks off with, unless we were bowling on maybe like a short pattern or something. Just because I felt like when I got left, really far left, and I was trying to have make it really hook the whole lane, it just got a little tired because it was too strong before it, got to that spot down the lane. And I think that the Journey probably fulfills that sort of category. If you make it hook, it'll probably just hook too much. So,
all right. When you speak about ball speed, you mean off the hand or into the lane? Everyone only has access to what's on the monitor, and that's the one off the scanner down there at 40. I think it's 48 feet.
Yeah.
And so, generally speaking, we add about 2.5 to 3 miles per hour to that for off the hand ball speed.
So, the previous section, the what's in our bag, we stole that segment of Darren Tang. He's doing quite a good job with it. He has a video like a month doing it. It's kind of a cool idea. I liked it, so we stole it. This next segment is I'm stealing this from the Kelsey brothers. I'm not going to include the line that they use after it, but this is the no dumb questions. And generally in that section, they have like ladies saying, what's pass interference? I thought the whole point was you wanted to interfere with the pass so they couldn't get it, etc. Like, what is a down?
Right.
Why is it called a down? So on that thing, fire away with questions that you feel, you're scared to ask. Like, get us to explain some of the dumb lingo that we end up using, which is bowling lingo, if you're not really aware of it. If you're watching this after the show is live, just asking the question, just leave a comment, ask a question. Somebody in the chat will answer, or we will get through. But this is the no dumb questions segment. They follow it up with, there are no dumb questions, just dumb people. We're not going to go in that direction. This is just literally a no dumb questions. So here's my man. Buy yourself a couple of kickstarts. Attaboy. Best ball for blending out wet dry during league. For me, it's nearly always an asymmetrical ball. I like that because my miss is nearly always in the wet rather than to the dry. So I need something that will dig in. So if I'm bowling in a drier house, where you end up getting wet dry, I really like the absolute. I think that's a decent blend of a ball that's smooth but is kind of clean, so you can use it. If you're bowling at, say, Mel's, where there's quite a bit more oil in the front part of the lane, I really like the Magic Gem to blend out that kind of wet dry when it becomes not road mat wet dry, so to speak. Like on the fresh, it's still wet and dry. Here we go. Perfect. This has led us into this. But it's blended. So that for me is Magic Gem or an absolute are the best two. I'm sure Chris has got a symmetrical way of going at this.
Yeah, I was very much on the symmetrical plan for a long time. Stu is kind of transferring me over a little bit into doing this and using the more flare to blend it out with balls to get more forward. Like the clone gets a little bit forward. The exotic gem for me got a little forward, and using it that way versus because I like to really roll it forward. I like symmetrical balls, and then that allowed me to do what I want to do with my hand to blend it out. The Axiom Pearl was a really good league version, a shiny version that blended it out pretty good. The Nova in the past has been an asymmetrical version with polish that blended it out.
Infinite Physics as well for you?
Infinite Physics has been great, actually, which made it great in the local stuff around here and made it not very good on tour. So I think we both got fooled a little bit because of how much downlane friction is always there on the house shots and to the right, and then on tour, you don't get the kickstart with the free hook to the right, nor do you get the hook down lane because of all the urethane that gets used out there. No dumb questions. What is wet dry?
When people use the phrase wet dry, it's when the pattern, the part of the lane that has the most friction seems like the ball overhooks, and the part of the lane where the oil starts provides too much skid. So typically when you're seeing wet dry, you'll be leaving 210, 310, or 3-4 and friends as combinations for a right-hander. Lefties don't really experience
miss left and go light, miss right and go high.
Yes. So in general, a house shot is wet dry from the very beginning, but it's much more blended. So people don't recognize it as being what they're terming wet dry. It's once that the dry gets drier, that's when the troubles start, because then you end up getting your ball more in the oil.
It's actually a really good question for something that we talk about all the time, and we just assume it's normal.
I mean, it really depends where the house shot is.
But generally speaking, most, as a very generic, between the second and third arrow is considered the track. I would say between 8 and 13 or 14 generally is the laydown area where
Perfect. Yeah, that's
where most of and if you really don't know, then every arrow is 5 boards. So that means just outside the second arrow to in between the second and third arrow. That's where the majority of play is. That's where the majority of scratches on the lanes are, and so that's what we call the track. Whoop, sorry.
It's the weight block in the middle of the ball. So if you can imagine a symmetrical ball, no matter which direction you would hold it, the core would be the same. The weighting of the core and everything would be the same. Generally, it's side to side, not necessarily up and down. Whereas an asymmetrical ball, years ago, would have been a shape something like this, and then there'd been a huge notch on one side of it. But subsequently, a lot of asymmetrical balls, the shape is actually quite symmetrical of the core. It's just the weighting inside the core means that it's not symmetrical. And basically, you can tell when a ball is asymmetrical because it has a extra marking. I've actually got one right here.
Yeah. In layman's terms, the asymmetric balls are going to start up and change directions a little bit. They're going to want to change directions a little bit faster. It may not be sharper, but they'll want to change directions.
So here's the shore lock.
There you go. Yeah.
Every ball will have, oh God, this is hard to do. The pin and the CG, which is this is where the heavy spot is of the ball. But an asymmetrical ball will also have some marking. This is the rad core, so it has this rad marking. This marks the top of the asymmetry. So that's the way to spot which is asymmetrical and which is symmetrical. Generally, the asymmetrical balls are more expensive.
More complicated cores.
Yeah.
And the placement of the ball matters way more.
Generally, the most aggressive balls are all asymmetrical. So if you look at Brunswick's high-end line, like Masterminds, Motive have like the Jackals, Storm. Well, we've had a bunch of different ones. My mind's going blank. Global have Reality, Storm, Gems. So that's generally how it is, how it goes. So we have a super chat here from our friend Mr. Singapore.
Why is the back end of Belmo's ball in videos so extreme? Is it a rotation thing or an oil pattern thing? Looks cool, but not sure if practical.
It's probably because a combination of a couple of things. People love seeing balls hook a lot, and Belmo can make it hook as much as he wants.
Yeah.
So, and he's probably ball on a lane that isn't exactly a competition lane. It's just a fresh lane. So
a fresh lane, and he has great tools. As someone who's done a lot of those ball reviews and exhibitions, and that's generally what you think people want to see is the balls hook a lot. And like Stu said, he can make it do circles around most of us. That's probably not how he would throw it in competition.
Yes.
But the fact that he can, so he does. I don't know if it's even so much of a pattern thing. It's just any freshly oiled lane, he can pretty much do that when he wants. Well, this is very much a Stu question.
Happiness. Absolute happiness. That's what that is.
Well, this might be a dumb question. I don't know. It's lowest game we bowled on tour.
I honestly don't remember. I'm very good at forgetting.
Yeah, mine was more recent, so I think it was 116 or whatever I shot it in the basement there.
Which one was that?
That was the TV finals at Bill Moore's place.
Oh,
Feelings and
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do remember my lowest game on the European Tour. I shot 105,
Oh, there you
and I spared a 3.610 in the game.
go.
But it was a re-entry tournament. The next squad I bowled 300 on the same pair, so I was quite proud of myself for that one. Hey, Adam, I think that you should drill the journey and the goal label the same.
Yeah.
And then that there's plenty
They're
enough
enough
difference
different.
between the two of them.
The videos tomorrow you'll get a much better idea.
Hey, what's going on, Ted? Like, nice to see you. Well, not see you, but hear from you.
Can you explain? And this will finish up our no dumb questions segment. But can you explain what quick down lane versus slow down lane? When a ball really saves direction and then makes a very sharp move down lane. Belmo's ball videos are almost always quick down lane. My ball reaction is almost always slow down lane comparatively. But basically, when you make a smoother, more gradual motion versus skid, 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 and then a very hockey stick type motion down lane. That's how I would explain.
Yeah, I mean, think of like in ball terms, a ball that would be quick down lane would be a virtual energy blackout, a revenant. A ball that would be slow down lane. Well, the ultimate slow down lane ball is a urethane ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how quickly it makes its transition. Oh God. Go get some sleep, Danny.
Like you, Daniel. I think it was a booyah, right?
No, it was that purple thing.
Oh yeah, the Badger urethane. That's right. Thanks for reminding me. I almost forgot.
Is there a major difference between pin up and pin down? Major is a word that is up for debate. I do a video on Instagram. It's pinned on my Instagram. You can see the difference between two absolutes. I think that there can be a very big difference between a pin-up layout and a pin-down layout. And I also think that there can be very little difference depending on the cause and, you know, a lot of other things. So. High diff v low diff. So high RG versus low RG or diffs. Again,
as the covers get stronger, we just talked about this a little bit, and I think you're right. In general, I used to put like every 3 points or so, I thought made about a foot longer, but the covers are getting stronger and kind of pushing that together a little bit. You have to be probably 4 to 5 points to get an extra foot to 2 feet longer, I guess, without anything else being different, which it's almost never the case. So it's very, very much a guess. But high RGs generally save more energy, will create more of that hockey stick reaction if there's friction down lane. It'll make the ball more responsive to the oil and the dry. Differential just gives you more overall hook as the ball tries to migrate, gives you a more fresh track to come across as it's going down the lane. Stu, could you model that shirt?
You can buy this is a turbo shirt, but I've got exactly the same shirt, just slightly different ways they've done the logos from Coolwick. So yeah. I remember the one year, what was the guy? Billy Myers was doing the apparel for almost all the companies. And I remember we went to Bowl Expo one year and every single company had the same 2 shirts. And you can see all of the ball companies were pissed off. He hadn't he definitely used up all of the stock that he had. It was quite in my mind, it was quite funny, but like I'm not sure that the booths thought it was quite as funny. Max says, how do you determine what surface to use on fresh? This is a very much a it depends question because a magic gem, for example, for one pattern, you might want it shiny for the fresh on, say, the house shot. But like, if you're trying to use, say, for me, a gold label, if I was trying to use a gold label on a fresh house shot, I would have to use quite a bit of surface, maybe even 1,000, to kind of blend out how angular it is down the lane. So it's not just as easy as what surface, because it depends which ball also. Solid or pearl ball. Like the Revenant, for me, my Revenant has almost 500 on it, and I could use that on the fresh.
Wow.
But I couldn't use a gem with 500 on it on the fresh.
Yeah.
In a lot of places. So it's surface is always in combination with the pattern and the ball. So there isn't really a somebody says for a typical house shot, maybe 2,000. Yeah, I mean, for most typical house shots, I tend to want to use it like a slightly stronger ball, but with like polish on it. Just because it allows me to stay a little bit closer to the friction. So, yeah.
Speed dominant righty looking for ball down from high road, looking at hustles. I mean, that's the right place to look.
Yeah. If you're speed dominant, I definitely think the rip is going to be the go-to there. If you were looking for something a little more angular, maybe the M&M. But with you saying that you're speed dominant, I definitely think hustle rip. If you wanted something a little closer, I don't know whether they're still available. I think they might have been discontinued, Burner Pearls.
Perhaps while he's looking that up, Jason, appreciate the super chat. Bob Spalding has worked with me on hand positions this year. Hey, ask Bob if he's ready for that arm wrestling match. I'm sure he probably can't take me on just yet. I've now had issues with splitting in the crease of my thumb. Do I need to change pitch or maybe grabbing too much? Currently, half reverse. Sounds like maybe you just need a little more bevel or a little bit, knock the front edge off. If you're talking about splitting right here, you probably.
I would have thought he means here. That would be the crease of my thumb.
In the crease of his thumb. Okay. I think I read this one earlier. It might in the palm, but
yeah, just clarify. Do you mean like what Stu's saying or what Chris is saying?
At the base, at the crease, on the pad side, or on the knuckle side?
Yeah. Just clarify.
Yeah.
Because I think you've probably got too much reverse and you're bending your thumb to hold on to it. If it's this side.
Yes. The base inside. Okay. So you're talking about down at the base on the so could also be a touch too much reverse, or you can bevel that front edge a little bit and take the sharpness off that spot. You can either create a little notch so that you don't catch on that spot, which some people do when they have that nerve that's right there, so they don't ding on it. But other ideas?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to look at these balls just to confirm. Yeah, for me, Jason, I think that probably it might also be that your skin's got a little bit dry there. But in general, if you've got a problem there, it's probably because the top of your thumb is just a little bit too tight. Yeah, like.
Yeah, Dylan says more bevel, less reverse. I think both of those could be the case. I would try a little more bevel first and see if that cures it. And if that doesn't, then you may have to I mean, nothing crazy. I would keep reverse, but go down to 3/8 or a quarter and See if that takes, and then you also have to end up shortening your span slightly to do that.
The other, just quickly, is consider more bevel as more reverse. The more bevel you put on, you're effectively putting more reverse on it. So
True.
So just quickly going back to Tim. No, the burner pearl is gone. So for me, it would be the hustle rip. Electrifies aren't a bad option. I just don't think that they are quite as predictable as the rip. Yeah. I think that the only other ball that we've got in the range that would be down from it is the hyped pearl. And for me, the hyped pearl wasn't really that big of a gap from a high road, especially if you've been using the high road for a while. I think you might end up drilling a hyped pearl and it hooking more than your high road. So thanks for the super chat. Appreciate you. Right. Stu, what are the biggest factors you take into when it's it depends? The biggest factors for me to take into are, well, is the ball... The main issue with bowling is your ball burning up. Like, the ball burning up is what causes your scores to be the lowest. So knowing whether your ball is burning up is to me, is by far the most important thing. Especially if you're bowling on something a little easier. And the easiest way for me to know whether my ball is burning up is if I throw a ball in my bag that I know is weaker and it hooks more, then the stronger ball is burning up. So a lot of times I will see guys and their ball is burning up, but they think it's not hooking enough. So they throw a stronger ball and it still doesn't hook enough. So then they throw an even stronger ball and it still doesn't hook. And then they realize maybe it was burning up. And the thing is it's the hardest thing in bowling to see. And the easiest way to get away from getting in that cycle is to throw a weaker ball. Because, like I say, if the weaker ball hooks even a little bit more, then you know 100% the ball's burning up. So a lot of times, understanding the ball is burning up isn't necessarily seeing it. It's your brain logically coming to the conclusion that it's pretty unlikely that game 2, my ball is suddenly not hooking enough.
Yeah.
So
leads a little bit into this question. I like this one. Do you guys have tendencies to make ball changes on tour, which is important distinction from league, seeing the ball mostly from side to side or front to back? And I think it's front to back on tour because there's less defined friction left to right, but it is both because the lane does change a lot. But the front to back, especially in the last few years with urethane, has changes dramatically front to back. And then with the less, with much flatter patterns in general, that ends up being the important part of how to get where your ball has energy transferring.
I personally think the whole pros front to back, amateurs side to side nonsense is the new buzzword from professionals, getting away from the pros work the inside of the ball and the amateurs work the outside of the ball. I just think that front to back always causes side to side. So you're not wrong to look at it side to side, because I move left because my ball hooks early. Well, the pro moves left because he sees the fronts. Like,
it moves left because his ball hooks, period.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have a reason. Anytime your ball goes high, you move left. It doesn't hook, you move right.
Yeah. I mean, so that's part of it. It's like the lane is 60 feet long and it's only 3 feet wide. So there's obviously going to be more change front to back than there is side to side, because there's just 20 times more lane to change than there is. And realistically, it's 3 feet wide, but you barely use more than 2 feet of it. Oh, yeah. No, I just see it a lot. It's just I
Yeah.
find that it's kind of condescending from some of the pros. They use the you amateurs always look at it side to side. I I look at it front to back, and it's just like you're looking at the same thing. You just call it something different.
Right. It's friction and non-friction.
Yeah,
It's reasons why you're moving left. It's reasons why you're changing balls. But when your ball doesn't do the right thing, you're changing one way or the other,
yeah. I
either
just
moving or switching. So we are sneaking up on it. So we're gonna have a few more questions, but
yeah went fast.
it did. Uh,
Sorry, someone's asking me 18 inches. No. Can you compare the Fate to the Journey? Yes, I actually threw my Fate. My Fate looked like a plastic ball in comparison to the Journey. I know that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but for me, that Fate obviously wasn't brand new. But for me, the Journey was significantly stronger than the Fate. Quite a bit more than I expected it to be.
yeah.
Like I say, these two balls that have come out just recently, the Journey and the TNT infused, the shape really excites me. It looks, I'm probably going to get shouted at for saying this, but it looks a lot more like the 1500 grit polish balls. So
Yeah. No, I think we have some very complementary balls right now. I think there's a little bit more difference in core numbers. We got some mixes of cover stocks. There's some, and the balls coming out right now are not necessarily, while some of them have the same similar color looks, they're not on top of each other. So it's yeah, look for those videos tomorrow, maybe even today. Who knows? You never know. But I think I think you'll see some positive things out of this. It's certainly probably the strongest of the Belmo balls in the mid lane, with the exception of the one that was awful. I don't even remember which one that one was back then, but doesn't
Drive.
matter. Drive. There you go.
Just real quick.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to quickly answer this one. Hey, Dylan. No, I think what you saw is I think Sean had a clear mold. Because I saw the same thing, and I'm pretty sure that Sean uses like a clear mold.
He doesn't use any of the interchangeables, but he does. Yeah, if you're pouring them at home and you don't have color to mix in your plug, you just make clear ones.
So I think that's what you saw.
Yeah.
I have to give a shout out to Sean though. Those videos were pretty fun. Like he literally walked from the drill room straight into the lanes and threw a shot and struck both times with two balls.
For a guy with some back stuff going on, that's hard to do.
Well, I'm sure he was warmed up, but it was clearly the first shot with both of these balls that he just drilled.
And just went.
Yeah. So that was like it
pretty cool.
Obviously, he might have drilled 10 balls and he only showed 2 videos because he got 6 on the other one. But for the 2 that he did, fair fucks.
Yeah.
Because you can make an asshole out of yourself real quick doing that. Look at this new ball. It's going to be great. And you go up and you get 5. Like, people didn't understand. There was a lot of pressure when we were coming out of COVID and I was doing the ball reviews live. That's as real as it gets. And none of you guys give me the props for it, so I stopped doing it. But that was ballsy. There was a couple that I was like, yeah, I don't have the stones to do this.
Jamal, we're going to finish up on this on Super Chat here. So appreciate it. What's going on, brothers? Hope you're both doing good. Thinking of updating my arsenal a bit. Thoughts, Clone, Phase 2, Journey, IQ Tour 78. When they come out, I'm a medium speed two-handed bowler.
Thoughts? I like the back 3. Phase, Journey, and IQ Tour. Oh, yeah, the 78. Journey might be a little strong for your weakest ball. I personally I think that the clone is a little bit nichey. I think that to only have 4 or 5 balls, the clone might be. I'd want to lean something more towards Eternity Pie or Magic Gem. If I wanted one of the newer ones, I think that they're a little bit more versatile. They cover a bit more of a gap.
If you struggle with your ball hooking too much, though, there's a big gap between Journey and IQ Tour.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, so one of the smaller flare balls.
Maybe just an IQ Tour.
Yeah, IQ Tour itself. A Rip might be pretty sharp. The M&M is probably in that range as well. Ruby, those kind of things. That's something with a smaller core would be the direction I would go if your ball hooks too much. If you're high enough speed that you need something stronger than phase 2, though, what Stu was saying for sure. Eternity Pie or Gems, something along those lines. So,
Unstable Fault, thanks to the super chat. You wrote, have you discussed what is replacing the pitch black? Well, from my understanding, the pitch black's still going to be around. I might be wrong, but that's my understanding. For PBA competition, it was announced. They showed a video of it. I don't know whether it's on the website yet, but they have a new IQ Tour 78, a urethane. It's similar to a overseas urethane that they released a few years ago. But that's the one. Ray says, have you thrown it? We have not. When they shipped out the balls to us to do videos, that one was discontinued. Back ordered. I saw somebody wrote discontinued right under it, and it caused my brain no end of troubles. That's why you shouldn't read and talk at the same time. Hey, Justin. So unless the super chat comes in, this will be the last question.
Actually, we got one at the bottom I got to catch.
Oh, okay. No problem. Is this a good arsenal? Reality, Eternity Pie, Reality Check, Eternity, Phase 2, IQ Tour, IQ Ruby, Revenant with Service, Hustle M&M, Purple Mix. I think that you have way too many balls at the top that are really similar. Like, for me, I think you could go Reality, Eternity Pie and almost cut the Reality Check and the Eternity. And I don't think it would change very much for you. I think that the Pie somewhat covers similar ground to the Eternity and the Reality Check. And almost certainly your Eternity Pie is newer than both of those. I think the Eternity Pie is a big step up in how good I think the ball is from the Eternity. I wasn't really a big Eternity fan. I didn't really see it work that well that often for that many people. It was really good going straighter on longer patterns, but that was about the only time I really ever got to see that ball used a lot. So, and then
I could see keeping the Reality Check as a shiny ball that changes direction there, though.
Okay.
I'd be okay with that.
I think there's a really big gap between Phase 2 and IQ Tour. Or a bigger gap than I would want. So maybe you could cut out the Eternity and put in a one of the stronger, quicker balls that we've been talking about.
Blackout.
TNT infused, your Blackout or Gold Label.
Gold. Yeah.
Could fit in there. And I think that would be a better option. So thanks for the question. Which one did you want to go to, Chris?
This is one that came in just after we came off the air, and you answered it offline, but we did not answer it on here. So
just 100% remind me of the actual question, GC3. And then
it was about not being able to get underneath the ball and what he needed to do.
Okay. So go ahead. You go with what your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I have a couple of things. And the standard thing, if not being able to get under the ball, two things that very often happen is you get too far forward and your right shoulder rolls forward. And once that rolls forward, this elbow can't get back in. This has to stay back. For this elbow to stay in, this elbow stays in, then your hand can stay underneath the ball. And so That can be one of the causes. The other one is if your slide foot ends up going across and over the top of your pivot step, you will dive at it that way, and your shoulder will have to roll forward, and your hand and elbow will come around the ball. Those are the two things I see the most often. For you, Stu?
Yes. I think that leading with your head is bad in an NFL tackle, and it's also bad when trying to bowl.
Yeah, he's behind the ball, but not under it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But
Yeah,
if you get your head really far forward, like you're talking about, I'm just trying to talk about a different thought process. That was all about, like, you're talking about leaning, and I'm just saying that if you feel like your head is the furthest forward, then that's what is the same thing for Chris. Like, I feel like almost trying to, like Baker talks about, pushing the air with your chest.
Yeah.
And that's, so it's just different thoughts to get to the same outcome, because knowing that your shoulder's going forward doesn't always give you an answer on how you can stop it. Like, just stop throwing your shoulder forward isn't always, like, for some people that's like, oh, well, of course I won't do that then. And then they're fine.
Right.
And then you get somebody else like myself who, because I look forward, I tend to have a thing of getting forward. And I feel like at times Malott is the same. When Wes isn't bowling, it looks like he's about to headbutt the lane at times. I mean, it's crazy. Like, Wes is like, he'll throw his first 10 shots and you're like, oh my God, how out of rhythm is Wes? And then like 20 minutes later, he's throwing 20 baggers because he's just slightly got his body back up a little bit and his head isn't like leaning forward as much. And then he just
stands up a little bit taller, his butt gets up underneath him, and his ball starts hooking back from everywhere.
Yeah. I can tell you from experience, it takes me way longer than that to fix it when I'm doing it wrong. But like I say, that's one more question.
Yeah, the Unstable Fault put in a super chat. He says, last question. Do you think it's ridiculous that Chris Taylor, Eddie Bird, Shea Bittenbender, and Tim Bernard are on our Tuesday night league and squash almost every bowl? It sounds like good planning to me.
Them being on the same team is a little strong, but if they're just bowling in the league.
Yeah, what you're saying about fair?
Yeah. Fuck fair.
I just fixed being more upright at the start, which helped me out a lot. Now I have to do it at the end. Absolutely. Keeping your spine tilt steady all the way through, where it's kind of, and what you see is the top pros don't have much bend. Even two-handers, their last 3 steps, they don't move much. So, yep. Yeah, they're not into fair, that's for sure. So
I mean, there's a way to fix it. Just vote for there to be a reduced prize fund. You won't be so interested in bowling.
Yeah, there you go. Well, join us Tuesday as we discuss the Rangers being up 2-1 in the World Series by then. And I'm just being kind. I gave you a game. There you go. Nice bowling. Nice bowling. All right. Hey, enjoy your weekends. Good luck bowling wherever you're bowling. And in between now and then, if you get a chance, please support the sponsors to support us. Storm, Rotogrip, 9R Global, Cool Whip, Bowlers Mart, Fire Lake Bowling Center, Lightning Strikes, and Platinum Forward. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. God bless.
See you later, guys.